All right, we're on part 9, section 3. Part 9, section 3 for my videographer. All right, fill in the blanks. We're there at part 9. We're on number 3. Number 3. Many countries wanted a piece of the pie, the trade routes. I mean, all this money's being made. Everybody wants it. Billions of dollars are floating around. Everybody in the world wants to jump on this because you can become incredibly wealthy. And this led to blank over trade routes. What's it going to be? Competition over trade routes. Competition. Everybody wants in, so you're going to compete with everybody else. Also led to state rivalries. Remember what a state, human geo people, a state's basically a country. So you had these countries rivaling each other for these trade routes. Local resistance, all which challenged state consolidation and expansion. All right, we're going to find out what challenged state consolidation, what challenged countries from gathering more land. That's challenging state consolidation and expansion. What stops some countries from expanding? That's what we're getting to today. All right, letter A. Omni European. Omni is another word for Ottoman. So we see Ottoman there. Draw a little arrow over to Omni. In the what ocean? The Arctic Ocean. That's right, the Arctic Ocean. Of course, some of you are saying, no, don't write that down. It's not the Arctic Ocean. No, it's not. Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean. Competition over trade routes. So the Ottomans, the Muslims, have been hanging around. I mean, look at the geography. Look where they are. It wouldn't make sense. They're right next to the Indian Ocean also. All right, number 1. The blank and Arabs. Europeans, the British, mine went blank, the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese. Not so much Spain in the Indian Ocean. Of course, Spain's happy where they are. They got all the Americas and this gold and silver coming out. The Europeans and the Arabs, who are the Ottomans, struggled for dominance over Indian trade, Indian Ocean trade. Number 2, this led to several blank between the two. What's the word? Several big conflicts called starts with a W. War is right. This led to several wars between the two. Europeans going to war with the Ottomans over money. Both wanted to have exclusive rights to supply the West with Eastern goods. Eastern goods. Stuff coming out of the East. If I'm in, France and England and the Netherlands, the Dutch, if I can sail around the coast of Africa, come back up in the Indian Ocean, go over here to China, to the east, buy their stuff, take it back, man, I can sell it for a huge honking profit. Well, so can the Muslims, and they want that. And more Western goods going to the east. More Western goods going to the east. But remember, for the record, China didn't buy much. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. They are selling their stuff, getting all this silver, the Ocho de Cinco. I was thinking of the football player, Peso de Ocho. They're getting all this silver coming in, but they're not using that silver to buy much. They buy a little bit of European stuff, but the balance of trade is very much lopsided. All right, number 4. Europeans were more technologically advanced than the Ottomans. The Europeans were more technologically advanced than the Ottomans. The European ships had cannon on them. They were gunships. The Ottomans, not so much. The European technology, Up till this time, remember always who's the smartest people? It's the Muslims. Who were the best traders? It was the Muslims. Who knew more about Greco-Roman anything? It was the Muslims. Right at this time, it starts to shift. Europe starts to take off technologically. All right, number 5, Europeans could now just trade directly with India, which increased European wealth. You could trade directly with India. I don't have to go through the middleman. You know, have you ever heard about buying something wholesale and buying it retail? If you buy something from Sears, you're buying it retail. I guarantee you, Sears is not going to sell you a die-hard battery the same price they bought it for. They buy it from a retailer. You know, I was somewhere, I don't know what I was doing, but I had a soda. I remember that. Good day. And I was watching a store, and they had a big truck in the back unloading all this merchandise. And it was like in big boxes and stuff, you know, some kind of appliances. And then I saw a guy come out the front, a customer who just bought it. You know, and there it went from wholesale into here, jacked up the price, retail, and sold it to that guy. Basically, when you cut out the middleman, you know, if you can buy something if you can buy something wholesale price, it's always cheaper than buying it retail. Whenever you buy something from a store, they had to jack the price up. You know, it's like me going into Market Street and I go, hey, where did you get the corn from? Bob the farmer. I guarantee you I can go to Bob the farmer and buy corn cheaper than buying it from Market Street. Because Market Street bought it from Bob the farmer. They got to make it private, so they jacked the price up. That was the Muslims. The Muslims were the middleman. They were the Sears. You know, they would buy the stuff from the east, jack the price up, and sell it to the west. Now, Europeans can go directly to the wholesaler, India. I just go right around the Muslims. Now, this increased European wealth. The merchants get all this money, all these products. They go back to Europe and sell it. Well, they have to pay taxes on it. Well, that tax money goes to the government. So the government's all for merchants doing this. Number 6, it also caused the poorer Ottomans to shrink in size. All of a sudden, a lot of the Ottomans' business, which was the trade routes, is gone. They don't have as much tax money now. They can't have as big an army now. They can't expand anymore. Not only that, they're getting beat on the fringes of the frontier and their empire is getting smaller. So in the AP test, if they ask you, why did the Ottoman Empire begin to shrink? You can hook it to lack of trade. They didn't have the trade they used to. They were cut out of the trade system. So therefore they didn't have the money. And military's got to have the money. All right, let's go to B. Piracy in the Caribbean. Another competition over trade routes. Above Caribbean, just so you know where this is, in parentheses put Cuba and islands around it. That's the Caribbean. Cuba and islands around it. And there are dozens of little bitty tiny islands all around Cuba. Cuba and islands around it. All right, number 1, Caribbean piracy revolved around stealing goods and money from whose ships? Well, what country's ships is coming back from America with money? Spanish ships. Number 2, some pirates acted independently while others were privateers. Privateers. Privateers, which is contracted out by governments to perform secret attacks. You know, England might pay a ship owner, hey man, I'll give you so much money. You can keep so much percentage of this ship if you go attack it. And so they'll attack Spanish ships. Those were privateers. All right. These pirates would plunder any ship they saw, including settler ships. settlers. In other words, people bringing colonists over. In other words, any colonist going to live in the Americas, you have the risk of being taken as a slave. This discouraged the colonization of the Americas around the Caribbean. Caribbean. Due to the rating of settler ships being a threat to wannabe settlers. All right, now let's go into something here. The English, the way they colonized, was totally different than the way the Spanish and Portuguese colonized the Americas, Central and Southern America. When the English colonized, families came over. Husband and wife and kids. Wanted freedom of religion, that kind of deal. Now, so when they get here, they stay to themselves. They look at the Indians and they really don't want anything to do with them. They don't want to enslave them. Unlike the Spanish and the Portuguese, they thought they were kind of weird. Indians have no concept of ownership of land or anything. They thought they were weird. They didn't want to intermarry with the Indians. Well, let's look at the Spanish and Portuguese. It's mainly, it's mainly men who are coming over, conquistadores, warriors, soldiers. Well, when they get here and they conquer everything, they want to start a family. Well, who's the only females around? It's the Native Americans. So there was a lot of intermarriage in the Spanish part, very little in the English colonies, just because it was almost only men down with the Spanish. And in the English colonies, it was whole families coming over. So put that like on the side right there. Somehow, that little part, work that out. I'll give you a couple of seconds there. English had family settlers, Spanish just soldier men or something like that. English had family settlers, Spanish had soldier men. All right, let's go to number 4, state rivalries, arguments between states. Number 1, the 30 Years' War. It was a religious war between two groups of people. It's in Europe. I'll tell you this. Who were the two religious groups arguing with each other? We know this. Catholics and Protestants. Catholics and Protestants. That was the 30 Years' War between the Catholics and the Protestants. As the schism means split, between the two became greater. The most destructive war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. The most destructive war in Europe before the 20th century due to violence and cruelties by undisciplined soldiers. And it occurred mainly in Germany. Deutschland! And what that means is, our American troops, we're disciplined, we're trained. We'll take prisoners and we'll treat them pretty good for the most part. We do bad things too. Well, if you're just a bunch of thugs and somebody gives you a gun and says, go kill people, you don't have the discipline. You're a lot more brutal and terrorizing than an organized army would be. The 30 Years' War didn't have organized armies so much. Letter C, the Peace of Westphalia, and that is spelled W-E-S-T, West, P-H-A-L-I-A, Westphalia. That's what ended the war, the Peace of Westphalia. And there's a famous fiddle tune called the Westphalia Waltz. And that's exactly how it sounds. All right, we're going to shut it down right there, and then I'm coming right back for part 4.